Okay, it's after 8. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, and we'll start with roll call. Paul Buning.
Here.
Ron Deppie. Drew Eggers.
Here.
I'm here. Richard Wertz.
Here.
Christy Ott.
Here.
We have a quorum, and we'll go ahead and start with the agenda. Note that sitting in for Krista today is Ronnie Oliver, so Krista's probably not thinking of us down in Mexico right now, but hopefully she's having a good spring break down there, right? We'll start off with the approval of the minutes of February 19, 2019.
I have one suggested correction of typo. At least I think it's typo on page 3, next to the last paragraph toward the bottom, resolution 2019-11. Says the project is scheduled for letting in May of 2018.
Probably want to say 19, don't I?
I would think so.
Yeah. Okay, Mark nodding his head over there, so anything else, BJ?
That was the only thing I saw.
Okay, need a motion to approve as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, under old,
Bob, I was just going to say, for the record, I abstain as I was not here.
okay, I have one abstention then. Thank you, Drew. Under old business, resolution 2019-10, $84,000 for Westview Drive roundabout project. So, I believe what that is, it's a corrected amount. I think Chris indicated to me that the prior amount on that had been shown as $61,000. This $84,000 is the correct dollar amount.
That's correct, and that is for the construction local match project.
Okay.
We'll make a motion.
Yeah, we're gonna vote. I'm sorry.
Need a public hearing on that?
We
Okay, we need a motion to approve by title only then.
Move to approve by title.
vote this back up. So I think we want to read first. I think we read by title.
Move to read by title.
Read by title only. Okay, sorry.
Second.
Okay, now we'll have a public hearing on it.
Thank you.
Anybody out there have anything on this? Okay, well, I'll declare the public hearing closed and ask for a motion for approval of the resolution.
So moved. Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion approved. Next resolution is 2019-27. It's $257,000 for the Frechette Eye Center. What this is, my understanding it is it's already on the cash flow, and it's a carryover from what was already approved in 2018 that we're moving over into 2019 in order to get it back, keep it on the I guess keep it in the queue for eventual work on that. My understanding also is that we've got bids out on that, or I know Duke's working on that, so my understanding also is it should come in a little bit less than the 257, but I haven't seen a final number. But essentially what we're doing right today is we're just bringing that number over from 2018 to 2019.
Bob, the resolution in number 1 for the additional appropriation, this is a carryover of $200,000, which I think was the original not to exceed. And at some point last year, I think it was changed from the 200 to 257.
Okay, so we did, you're looking under item 1 there where it says 200.
Correct.
That probably should say 257,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's an error.
Okay, so that's something we'll need to change.
It's been advertised at the correct amount. I just need to amend the resolution to 257.
Do we need a public hearing on this?
We do.
Okay, so I'll need a motion on this one to read by title only.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It's approved. Now I'll open up for a public hearing. Hopefully we'll get this started pretty soon, from what I understand.
Being new, I just have a question on this.
Uh-huh.
Why the increase of 25% or more from the 200 to 257?
I think when we first started talking about this, the RDC was considered an amount around $200,000. And as we got into, they got into the bidding process and finding out what was going to be involved in redoing that facade with the roof and the weight and how the footings and so forth, it was moved up to that. They seem to think with working with Duke that this is a good number and that we approved it at that. So, but this thing's probably been kicked around now for 3 years, and hopefully we'll get the process done this year. So I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion for approval of the resolution, the corrected resolution amount of $257,000.
So moved.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thanks, Drew. Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's approved. Okay, item 5B, offering sheet, request for offers to purchase real estate, Brookhaven Drive. Work. This relates to the right-of-way on Brookhaven, Rob, I guess.
Yeah, this is the exchange with Mr. and Mrs. Linville of the remaining drainage ditch, or most of the remaining drainage ditch property north of Commerce Road for the Brookhaven Drive property. And I understand the board works approved this last night. I believe we did not receive any bids from the public, which were due yesterday at 5. So this is proceeding. There's no action required of you today.
Okay, just more of an update.
Yes.
Okay. This is not one where we're actually going to expend any TIF dollars, is it?
Well-
I mean, it's already involved with swap of ground. Is this the one I'm thinking of?
That's right, but we are basically covering the closing expenses,
All right.
which we don't know yet.
Okay, so that'll come back.
Yes.
Okay. All right, anything else on this?
No.
Okay, we'll move to 5C, which is the purchase agreement for 180 South Jackson Street.
I've been working with, well, 180 South Jackson Street is the Hughes Auction Barn. Fred Paris is here representing the owner of that property as a realtor. Or maybe you're here just to observe, I'm not sure, right?
You're right.
But the owner of the property is a trust called the Petula Hughes Whitworth Trust. John Hughes is the trustee. They've hired an attorney, Bob Adams, out of Shelbyville, who I've been working with, and we've got this purchase agreement. It is similar to the purchase agreements we've used on other purchases, but there are a couple changes they've asked for, and I need to point those out to you just so that you're aware of them. The biggest is that they would propose that we pay for our title insurance policy, and normally the seller pays for the title insurance policy. That would be change number one. They would also want us to cover all of the, I'm sorry, let me back up. So normally the seller would pay for title insurance policy. And in our prior purchases, we've been paying half, and the seller has been paying half. In this one, they're proposing that we pay all of them. Likewise, with respect to the closing costs, rather than splitting them 50-50, they're proposing that we pay all of them. In the other deals we've done also, well, in this deal, they're proposing the last paragraph, which is basically saying we would be buying this as is, and we would be waiving our right to pursue them if we discovered any environmental problems. That is not specifically in the prior agreements that we have. So under this agreement, we would be purchasing it as is, basically. They would also want us to, their proposal is that this deal is good if signed by March 22nd, would close by May 1st, otherwise it would be off. So in my view, those are all acceptable terms as long as you agree to them. Does anybody have any questions?
Any idea from a dollar standpoint what we're looking at? It's kind of a ballpark.
It might, maybe 1,000, maybe 2,000.
Rob, have you seen the title? I mean, is there any concern about any potential clouds on it or anything like that?
Yeah, no, I've not seen it yet. If I understand that phase one has been completed by the city for environmental, I've not seen that either. Short answer, though, I don't know yet.
My only question, Rob, is why the change going out of what we've always done? Is this something we're going to be looking at in the future?
It's their, it's their request.
Closing costs would not include realtor's fees then.
Correct.
Okay.
They would be covering the village fees.
So we're looking like recording fees, just kind of some ancillary things.
Yes,
Really, the biggest one would be the title work.
yes.
And maybe about 1,000 or so.
Yes.
May not even be that much. Maybe a closing fee with the title company is normally about $300. I would like to have somebody's eyes on that environmental report before we,
I was going to move that if we approve the purchase agreement, that it be subject to receiving a clean phase one. I don't want to repurchase it without having that clean phase one.
I would just throw this out.
I thought it was sent to Chris's
I-
office. Do you have that, Ron?
I just got it, yeah.
Right, and it, my understanding is a clean phase one, but I thought we'd have that here today, or Rob had it, so.
I would, I think we might be able to do this subject to review by legal counsel of that phase one, an acceptable review of that. I guess I don't have an issue with the fees. I don't think we're talking a huge amount on those. A little unusual. They did sign a prior purchase offer on this. Just, okay, they haven't signed anything. That's one, okay. I'm not aware of anything on that property that historically it's done, but,
One more thing,
Yeah.
years and years of auctions and
yeah.
cars and only, Lord only knows what going in and out of there.
I know there's been a lot of old guys sitting around chewing tobacco over there, so you never know what they've done. It's true. What do you recommend on this? I guess I'm okay approving it, subject to an acceptable review of the environmental.
Is that a formal motion?
No, I really want you folks to make the motion. I'm just kind of moving this thing along. I would let the closing costs and title work be a deal stopper on this thing. But at the same time, like Richard said, I don't know that I'd let it set a precedent either. Going forward.
I'll move approval subject to a clean phase one.
I would second that.
Right, I should have pointed out, I've got a 45-day due diligence period built in here, so that's kind of baked in already.
Okay. Is it okay to
So I think
take,
that's my motion, I can go with that.
need any kind of public hearing or anything on that?
We don't.
Okay. All right, so we do have a motion for approval subject to a clean review of environmental. Any discussion? Rob noted there's a 45-day period in which we can do our due diligence as well. We should be able to hit these targets, I would think, particularly since we've got that environmental report, and if it comes back.
Rob, is there anything else that needs to be looked at in the due diligence period other than phase one?
Well,
Excuse me?
but the title policy,
I did, Bob, okay.
Yeah.
Thank
the
you.
commitment.
Anything else? Those in favor of approval of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion is approved. And we'll move now to Resolution 2019-28 US 31 TIF District Amendment. Again, I'll turn to Rob on this one.
I put in front of you a timeline that been working on. I can't find mine, so I'll thank you. So as you can see from today, this timeline, if we proceeded without any hitches or hiccups, we might be able to have our funding in hand in July. And that's imagining that we would have a $10 million bond issued, roughly to be spent half on the design work for 31 and half on the Greenway Trails amphitheater project area. The recommendation from bond counsel is that in order to do this, in order to borrow that kind of money, we have to do what's called a lease rental revenue bond, which involves the transfer of a city asset to the Franklin Redevelopment Authority, and then a lease of that asset to the Redevelopment Commission, and then TIF revenues used to fund the lease payments. And it's kind of complicated legal structure, but it would pass muster and allow us to avoid the 2% cap on debt that would otherwise restrict us from doing this project. So the reason it looks the way it does is because it has to. Otherwise, we can't do the projects. We can't raise that kind of money. We can't borrow that kind of money without doing it like this. So today would be the first step, and it would be, if you agree to do it, your approval of the declaratory resolution, which expands the geographic size of the development area roughly southward and then eastward along Youngs Creek. It also puts a little bit more flesh on the Exhibit B summary of what the two projects are. If you approve this today, then it would have to go to the Planning Commission for its approval, City Council for its approval, Redevelopment Authority, and then eventually some publications need to occur, and various notices need to be sent out, and it would be winding its way back to you for a final public hearing. Public hearing is not required today.
So what we were adding or amending is represented in blue.
Yes.
Ronnie, is there, to the north, there's some blue. Is that added also?
Yes.
What is that on the north side? Thought everything was south.
Is that commercial property by?
Mark's got it there.
That's part of the area where funds can be used. That's part of the US 31 corridor project.
What is that property, Mark? Is that,
Pardon me?
is that the property there?
No, that's where funds can be used. It's not where funds are being.
Right, I'm just asking what that property is.
Oh, Joanne says it's commercial.
This is our first talk about this, I think.
It's right in front of the old farm.
Yeah.
Well, I had not seen it until, when I pulled this up, I thought, what's that? But it's part of this resolution.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that part of the project?
This is news to me, I'm not sure what it's there for, what prompted that to be added on.
Okay, I think what we're trying to do is just clean it up. It is part of the trail project. It's city limits to city limits is where the trail's gonna be.
Okay.
So that's why it's expanded that way, just to clean it up to where they can, excuse me, spend the money for the trails
Okay.
Okay.
and the design of the trails. Is what that's about.
Is that part of the 31 project that's there?
Yes.
Okay.
And another thing I think that we need to clarify today, there's a lot of people confused, thinking that we're expanding the allocation area. We're not expanding the collection area. So I want to clear that up, so there's people at the school thinks that we're trying to expand our collection area, and that's not the case. It's where we could spend what we're collecting in the designated area.
Mayor, as we get a little farther along in this process, and I don't know, right now we're just taking steps so that we can use the bond proceeds in these areas to do the trails and some of the upgrades we've talked about. But with respect to the bond issue, and right now we don't know, and you haven't probably seen a lot of the details as far as the whole mechanics. I'm just wondering if at some point we're going to probably need a joint meeting of RDC, or I'm trying to think what we did on when we did the $15 million one. I think we probably had some joint meetings between council and RDC, and I'm not sure who else could have been involved in that, but.
Well, I know that the city council and the school board is getting ready to have a joint meeting in April, and hopefully we can clear up something at the school board meeting that we're having so that they get a better understanding that we're not trying to collect nor tip.
Right.
We're simply trying to make improvements to an area.
A lot of that's owned by the city anyway, so there's won't be any taxes.
That's correct.
So, that's some of that. Now, there's no intention here to tip anything.
Right.
It's additional.
And like I said, it just cleans it up, like when we get to an area, well, this wasn't part of the designated area, so we shouldn't be spending, putting trails there. We're wanting to go city limits to city limits, so we're just cleaning it up. That's what it is.
I guess my point is, once we get a little more information on the bond issue and, what all the mechanics of that and the dollar amounts and so forth, we'll probably have a better understanding of exactly where all that's going to go.
Right.
So today, what we really are doing is kind of a carryover from last month, where we are kind of doing it legally now rather than talking about it, expanding that TIF area, the integrated area, and as you see represented in blue. So what we have before us is a resolution that would accomplish that. So do we need a public hearing on this?
We do not today.
Okay, so today what we're doing is we're approving the resolution, and I don't know if we're taking any action on the TIF map at all, but that's just for information only.
The TIF maps are part of this resolution.
Okay, part of it's attached to that
Yes.
then, okay. So we're needing an approval of the resolution then.
Okay, Bob, on Exhibit B, we have broken down into two. The amphitheater project of $5 million and the US 31 corridor improvements $5 million, or 4.5 to $5 million. The $10 million, does that take up the bulk of our cash flow out of the TIF?
So we're gonna probably have a little left over, but not a lot. It'll pretty much take most of the cash flow.
So it's going to take, today, it would take pretty much all the cash flow there.
And one of the things we'll make sure of, Jeff Peters has been working alongside of us all along to do this, so that we know how much we can bond on this project. And I'm sure before we're said and done, he's going to see it again. And we're going to be very precise about how much it's going to cost and what the debt service is going to be. And again, he's doing the cash flows basically based upon what we currently have and not what's projected. As other improvements are made, that will certainly improve that cash flow, but I don't know, I don't see any, it'll be some time before any other dollars are spent, but this is really to allow us to, and pay the design work on the 31 project that the state's working with us on, and then also see how much can be done in the area that the city recently acquired in that floodplain. There could be some trails involved as well. So we don't really have a full breakdown of the cost and everything. That's essentially what this is earmarked for.
Okay. And then, Rob, from what I remember, the last bond, we have 3 years to spend the bond proceed on, is it a 10-year?
I think that's right.
So we have 3 years then. I guess this is the mayor. Could we have all the trails and the amphitheater and everything completed in 3 years?
I've been talking with NDOT, and that is their plan. And as far as the amphitheater, I would hope so. And we also, we don't know the full cost of an amphitheater yet. We're asking for the full amount because we're going to start on the engineering part of it, and then we'll get a better understanding. We may not need all $10 million. We may end up turning some of that back in. It just, we had to get started. I know we got to get started with an engineering firm to have a plan before DNR will let us tear down the buildings down there. So we can't do anything until we get started with an engineering, and we're going to pay for that with some of this.
Okay, I just remember how critical it was. We got our list together for 3 years, and so if we're looking at this summer to have this in 3 years, you can have all of this implemented, so we won't lose it.
That's the plan.
We haven't had much of a problem with spending money.
I have, because I don't like to do that, but I understand.
We've shown a propensity to hit these deadlines.
Yeah, but that's why I'm just, that the road, I think, is, what, 2 more years?
Yes, but it could be expedited.
Oh, good.
Mayor?
Yes.
And the $4.5 million is for design only, so we'll be able to
Right.
allocate those funds without any problem in that 3-year period.
I think once they are, okay.
I wanted to make sure that was into our minutes, because I remember how critical that was before.
Right, that's a good point. Okay, any other discussion? We haven't made a motion at this point, have we? Okay, so we're looking.
I would make a motion to approve resolution number 2019-28.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion approved.
Also on that same topic, we've received a new underwriter engagement agreement supplemental disclosure as required by the Rule G17. I'd ask permission for Bob to acknowledge our receipt of that notice.
Could we have a motion for that?
Yeah.
So, okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Rob, going back
I have
to,
one other question for Rob there. What's the cost on a $10 million bond, through the bond? Or is that built into the?
It'll come out of that. Short answer is I don't know. I think I saw Jeff Peters quote $35,000. I put a placeholder in for $7,500. I don't know what bond counsel's fees are going to be, but they're usually $50,000. I don't know yet.
Rob, is there anything that needs to be approved for my signature related to the purchase of the Hughes auction barn building? I know we're going to close
Yeah.
that by May, but
Yeah, and it's on I've got a purchase agreement for you to sign.
has that been authorized?
Yes.
Okay, so that's very good. All right, on the financials, I'm not going to go through those this morning. They are available. I think we'll wait until Krista gets back next month to get a little more detail on that. I might point out one thing. On the, Ronnie, if you want to jump in as well, go ahead. But on the, I think it's the financial report, Krista would want us to point this out. You see a big red negative number of $2.5 million as an estimated cash balance at the end of 2019. Krista wanted to make sure that everybody understood that that is not an actual true number. That should be firmed up a little bit in the weeks ahead. Some of that is, most of that represents projects that have been approved, but actually will not be paid for until 2020.
Right, this is all just legally appropriated.
It's what's been appropriated.
expenditures, right?
I might just kind of let you know that recently the mayor, Krista, and I sat down in a meeting, and once again, we kind of do this, it seems like every 6 weeks or so, just to make sure that cash flows are going appropriately, because what we don't want to have to do is be in a negative situation. And you might recall on January 28th, we had a meeting with the joint meeting with the city council stating that should we get to that situation, sometimes expenditures hit before the appropriations come in, but should we get in that situation, we would possibly go to the council to borrow some short-term funding. We don't expect that to occur this year. We think that all the cash flows are pretty well lined up, and that we're going to be in a positive situation for the really the foreseeable future. But again, it's just a matter of timing on a number of these projects. But don't get alarmed by that negative number, because it does represent things that are not going to get funded this year, but they are appropriate.
And there's quite a few reimbursements from the state that are not processed yet, and the cash flow is going to be a way better indicator of where we are.
Yeah, I normally would refer to Krista to go through all of these, and I think if it's okay, we'll just kind of move past that at this point. There's no objections.
Bob, is there any way that Krista could put an asterisk by the 2020 or 2000 in the future? Because it does catch your attention when you, for anybody that looks at numbers and you glance at this, that has a tendency to kind of jump out at you.
There's one of the reports that she gives us, is this one here that breaks
Cash
out.
flow?
Yeah, it's not, I don't think before you today, but you've seen it before, where it actually shows it being paid out in the years 20 and 21. Ronnie, why don't you go ahead and mention to her the request that Richard had about the asterisk, and
What do you want an asterisk by?
anything that is actually not going to get totally funded in the current year.
Okay.
And that way it gets kind of a heads up to kind of look on down the page for additional funding. I think we could dive into that today. You can see that a number of this stuff is going to get paid later on.
If anybody does want a copy of the cash flow, I can print them for you.
Okay, and that goes to the public as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Ronnie, I would like to get a copy of
Okay.
that. I can keep those.
Okay.
Me too.
Okay.
I can remember a day when we had meetings where I think the only thing we saw was a balance. That was it. That goes back a few years. But BJ, I'm not giving away any age here, but I know you can remember those.
Well, that's too far back to
Do you
remember.
remember? Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, since we last met, John and Lisa Talley have now formally asked that we release the mortgage on Old City Hall. I've been personally inspecting it every day, and it looks good to me. I think maybe Ronnie or Bob or somebody ought to just walk through it one time and make sure it's good. But I would ask that you consider well, you already, let me back up. You've already done this, so I guess I'm just bringing to your attention that you have already authorized Bob to release the mortgage once we're satisfied that they are substantially complete. I personally am satisfied, but I think somebody who actually works for the city ought to make that determination also.
is there a date when it will be open?
I don't know that.
Because she was here, I think, December before it was going to open in 3 weeks.
What year?
The prior December. But I don't have a problem with that. I was just wondering.
You need action on that, Rob? Or is it just have it in the record? One of us, somebody will walk through
I
it.
think it's just in the record's fine. It's
You
already-
can sign on it already.
Yeah. I'll do a walkthrough of it before I sign.
Let us know.
Okay. All right. We'll have it
One
up.
of these days we'll be able to go there and eat.
Probably soon. I think they're getting close. I think substantially all the work's done as far as improvements to the building. It's just getting the restaurant ready to go, like maybe staffing and things. Okay. Any, of the public, Mayor, do you have anything else?
Anything else?
Okay. Dana, anything going on? I might give an update on the Shell building. I think that we did report that there was some interest by a local company. That deal did not go through. We have advised, the city has advised Redevelopment to full speed ahead on completing the Shell portion of the Shell building. And so,
Yeah, I'm submitting it for project, I think I have one today that I'm gonna submit it for, so, yeah, we're back to marketing just as strong as before.
okay. Anything else that you have?
You missed item 7.
I did? Okay, I'll come back to that.
You know, we've had 3 companies come in, just some early due diligence looks on Franklin, so interest is definitely very high. I'm excited about that.
Okay. All right. Rosie?
Our next meeting, April 11th, we're gonna have Rob Schultz give us a little history about Franklin. That's always a kind of a good thing. He's got some twists he's gonna put on it.
Okay.
Come on out.
Yeah, I know you got a ribbon cutting today, don't you, at 4?
That was yesterday.
Yeah. Okay.
Henderson is,
Yeah.
that was yesterday.
Okay.
It's nice.
All right. Christopher wanted us to be reminded that on April 18th at 6 o'clock at the Johnson County Museum, I think that's up on the 2nd floor.
It's for our cultural district, a long-range plan.
And I think this meeting is open to the public,
It is.
so there should be some people in attendance at the former lodge hall.
Yeah, and we're hoping it's as a part of our designated arts district in Franklin, so we invite everyone to come out and let us know your ideas for the plan.
Anything else come before the meeting today? Okay, thanks for your patience with me this morning. And nothing else, we'll just say the meeting's closed. Thank you.